There, I'm back.
Okay, 1 minute.
She was golfing with the two, who I know, we rented the house from. Two places actually. Or maybe it's two in Palm Springs, one in Phoenix. Well, we can do that, do the same thing again. Now that Victor's my neighbor and there's issues around his house.
They can either go away or they can linger, you know? Like,
So after the meeting, it's requested. Cause I brought my packages in.
You got my, you got my stuff.
I'll be going to the same thing.
Could be.
they got this
Okay,
things on different dates, so
yeah,
I think you're both going the same, I just don't.
yeah.
I'll just go where Brad goes.
Then you gotta sign up for it.
That's for normal.
Okay.
Where's the gallery you need?
Good afternoon, directors.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair.
Good afternoon.
To the Regional District Board meeting for Wednesday, April the 27th. I'd like to acknowledge that us here in the boardroom are on the Lakwataq speaking people traditional territory. Confirmation of quorum we have. I'll call the meeting to order. And just before we get going, I just want to acknowledge that Directors Colburn, Davis, Moglove, and Cornfield are here in attendance, as are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 staff. So, thank you. Can I have adoption of the public agenda, please?
Move to adopt.
Second.
Baker and Colburn? And any additions? Director Moglove?
I'm Cornfield.
Additions? You want to bring up your thing on a new? Be under new business then.
I have one comment on the agenda.
Okay,
The last letter under correspondence deals with a public hearing that electoral area directors will be voting on when we've reviewed all the public hearing input. And we cannot receive any new information. So just to let the directors know, if that item stands on the agenda dealing with the public hearing, that we cannot receive any new information. So please, directors, watch what you say.
I'll go to CO for a comment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So we have vetted that correspondence and blacked out any new information. So that correspondence as it stands is fine for the directors to receive.
Go, question, Director
Okay.
Cornfield?
Why wouldn't they just recuse themselves?
Okay, let's wait till we get to the item then if they want to excuse themselves.
Brought up.
Yeah, yeah,
The answer is they don't have to.
they don't have to. Director Moglove?
Yeah, I just want to, I'll have a notice of motion for our next meeting. I'm not sure whether it should come under notice of motion H or under R for new business, wherever, but I will have a notice of motion for next meeting.
I'll put under new business. Okay, so adoption of the public agenda as amended? Cornfield? Baker? Anyone opposed? Seeing none carried. No petition delegations. Adoption of the minutes for the April 13th meeting.
So move Colburn.
Seconder?
Second, Evans.
Evans? Any errors,
I
omissions?
have one correction, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
There was an issue or a topic raised at the meeting regarding election signs. There was no motion, like no mover and seconder, but it says, and there was no motion, but it says that it was carried. So I think that needs to be corrected.
What are you referring to in the minutes? Sorry.
Okay, I have to go back to my minutes, but it's near the beginning of the minutes. Let me see.
I'm just having a quick look.
Okay,
Signs, there it is there. Under chair's report.
Oh, just under my chair's
Uh-huh.
report.
Let's see.
Under my chair's report, when I just said that in the background of one of our directors, we've seen an election sign, and all I asked is just be careful.
Yeah, and I explained at the time, it was me, I explained at the time, like I took it down immediately when I
Yep.
saw it on the screen. I had put up some new
Yes,
blinds in my regional office downstairs, and I moved the sign that was against the wall behind my desk. I moved it out of the way to put the blinds up and stuck it on the bookshelf, and I didn't notice that it was showing. So as soon as I saw it, I took it down. But I don't think there was a motion and there was nothing carried, so I would just delete that from our,
It was a motion to receive. the
just,
minutes.
it's, yeah, just to receive my chair's report,
Oh.
all of us.
is that how it reads?
Yeah,
Chair's report.
yeah, it's just a motion to receive the chair's report.
Okay, well, as long as the board understands that that was an inadvertent thing that happened.
Yep, no problem, Director.
Okay,
Okay, anything else under minutes? Seeing none, and all, getting confused again, I got some people here and some people there. Anyone opposed? Seeing none, carried. Any business rising from the minutes? No public considerations, no motion. Chair's report, just got a couple of things. First thing, Connected Coast, I think everybody can see, there's another mail out that went out either early this week from Connected Coast we are dropping in, so make sure you talk to your residents. And also there is a printed sign-up form that they will be sending out. We encourage you to have available at your village office, or of course for everybody, the area directors will be here at the SRD office. So you'll see some of that stuff coming towards you. The only other thing I've got is Director Baker, Mayor Baker set up a meeting last week with Rogers Shaw, and a couple of North Island mayors sat on it to discuss cell service on Highway 19 and 28. Discussions will continue on in the near future, and as soon as we have something concrete come back, we'll let you know. And that's all I've got for my chair's report, so motion to receive my verbal quick report.
So moved.
Colburn and Cornfield, thank you. Any discussion? Anyone opposed? Carried. Committee reports, Electoral Area Service Committee, motion to receive the draft minutes for the April 13th meeting.
So moved, Abram.
Abram
second, Lee.
and Lee, any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call questions. Anyone opposed? Carried. Staff reports. First item, M1, Development Permit Application DP2C22, Comox Strathcona Waste Management. Motion to receive the
So
report.
moved, Abram.
Abram, seconder.
Second.
Cornfield, anything to add, CEO?
Nothing to add, Mr. Chair?
Yep. Discussion? Question on receipt. Anyone opposed? Carried. And item B, Development Permit DP2C22,
So moved, Abram.
Abram moves.
Second,
Second by
second, Lee.
Electoral Area Directors only. Call questions. Anyone opposed? Carried. Item 2, Lincoln Park Disc Golf Course Proposal. Motion to receive the report.
So moved, Abram.
Abram, seconder.
Second.
Wally. And the CEO.
Nothing from staff, Mr. CEO, or Mr. Chair?
Okay, thank you. Was that a move up or move down? CEO to chair? A lateral. Call question on receipt. Anyone opposed? Carried. Item B, that proposed disc golf course for Lincoln Memorial Park be approved. Staff
So
be
moved,
authorized.
Abram.
Second, Colburn.
second,
Go. Abram and Colburn, any discussion? This is for all directors. Anyone opposed? Seeing none, carried. Quadron Island Rec Center Recreation Society Bike Park Development. Motion to receive the report.
So moved, Abram.
Second.
Abram Wally
Baker, second.
and the CEO.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just something small to add. In this report we brought to East, staff had a number of options, and one of the options was moved with a small amendment included by the director. We've had this discussion many times that if this motion carries, then that's a delegation of authority to the director that the board is going to have to do. So the board can either choose to move the motion as it's presented or the alternatives that staff had in the report originally.
Any discussion? Call question on receipt?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
On receipt? Go ahead.
Not on receipt,
Okay.
sorry.
On receipt, I'll call question. Does anyone, oh, sorry, Director Cornfield?
Yeah, just to clarify, the three options, the alternatives, does that, are those what was presented at EASC? Those three options, or is this three options for the board today?
I believe these are the options presented in the original report.
Okay, so question perhaps to the director. What advantage does it have to conditionally approve in principle prior to us getting the information on what implications it has to the regional district? Why? What was the rationale for endorsing in principle, conditionally approved in principle?
Okay, there was, if I may, Mr. Chair?
Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. The reason for doing that is because there was, in the report, it was made quite clear that staff felt that a proper process may not have been followed, and that a number of items needed to be looked into, checked out, whatever, and they needed some time to do that. But at the same time, the application for the money that had already had gone in and been approved needed to have some kind of endorsement that they're accepting the money. Otherwise, it might go away. So the idea was to take the money, take our time, go back to staff, let staff do their thing, and go through the whole project and make sure that it was properly done. And after that, then they could come back to us and we would give it an endorsement with a report about the implications for the regional district. If they felt that it should be endorsed. If they felt that it shouldn't, well, then they would tell us that. So I just wanted to make sure that we didn't stall the process, so we kept it moving, that we didn't lose out on the money. It's $180,000, so it's a lot of money for a small society. And it's one of the main projects on Quadra Island that is totally involving the community, the biking community, and the school groups. I went to the school myself and made a presentation to an assembly of the school kids. And after explaining to them about the regional district and all that, I asked them, like, what would you guys like to see on Quadra Island? What's your number one? And about 100 hands went up, and every one of them said bike park. So, there's obviously a lot of support for a bike park, which we already have. We built a bike park a number of years ago. I was totally involved in it with a couple of volunteers, but it was rudimentary and it was for novices. This is an official, completely engineered bike park, and it will, there will be a meeting with the kids on the island and the other bike groups on the island to actually, work with the regional district and with the Quadra Island Recreation Society to make sure that the bike park meets their needs and for, a long time into the future, not just for right
Okay.
now. So I was trying to be cautious, but at the same time, deliver a message that we are in favor of doing this. We just have to, cross our T's and dot our I's. And I wanted staff to have their time to do that. So that's why it was worded. And, the option that is option B is the one that I support. And the reason that it says regional director in there is not because I want to be involved in the building of the bike park, et cetera, but because of the fact that I have been involved in the creation of the bike park in the past. I would like to be part of it in the future, and I don't really see any problem with that.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to go CEO for a sec.
So, Mr. Chair, what Director Abrams speaks about the bike park is accurate. The issue that I'm just bringing to the board's attention is, in following the board's procedures and transparency and openness, what this resolution leads to is that outside of board and committee, we deal with the directors in the society to work this issue out and then subsequently bring it to the committee. So it really, again, goes against the principles to involve the director in the discussions before it comes to committee.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion? Director Cornfield?
Yeah, I'm just concerned that if it says, what if the board doesn't approve it? Then there's a whole lot of time and effort, and it almost makes it feel like, well, they were successful in getting the grant, so you have to approve it. And I think that who knows what implications there may be. I don't know if there's any restrictions on the land itself or whether or not there's liability concerns or considerations. I understand the need for those types of recreation facilities, but I think the process should be followed better.
Okay, thank you. I've got Director Anderson, Abram, Lee, and Evans. So Director Anderson.
Thank you. I think what EASC and Director Abrams specifically often try to do is insert director participation, which happened years ago in a much more fluid way. I don't see in this motion there being any sequencing of timing, but clearly this is something that the administration doesn't support and the board isn't going to support. And so I think getting hung up on this delegation of authority is a misdirection of our effort, and that option B really should be supported, just omitting the director and just saying at the end, implications for the regional district can be considered by EASC and the board, which leaves the intention clear of EASC. Any director can certainly still be involved in discussions, is not a delegation of authority. So when we get to it, I would like to move B with that amendment, or that different B.
Okay, thank you, Director Anderson. And Director Abram.
Yeah, well, that's interesting. The assumption that directors are trying to insert themselves in the process is absolutely false. The intention was to tag along with the staff and the EASC committee to, not that I would get information necessarily before them, but I would have, there would be special consideration for the thoughts of Area C towards this bike park. It is an Area C bike park, not an Area B bike park. So anyway, do whatever you please with it. If it gets passed without that in there, it's still going to move forward, and it'll still come back to the board with an approve or don't approve or modify or whatever after staff have done their due diligence. And I'm perfectly happy with that.
Okay, thank you. And Director Lee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. To me, I'm not going to get hung up on who attends the meetings on behalf of the regional district. I would support Director Abram being there. He knows what's happening on Quadra. He's talked to the school kids. He's talked to the proponents. He's talked to the community. If anybody knows the background of this, he does. But I'm not going to get hung up on that, because eventually, if we have the staff investigate further this development proposal, then it'll come back to us to vote on it. And at that time, if they throw a dart and get it wrong, we don't have to vote for it. So, that's how that goes. I think it'd be better to have the director involved, but anyway, I'm in favor of the staff working with the Quadra Island Bike Park group to ensure that our liability exposure is minimized, and coming back with a report.
Okay, we're still on receipt, so let's carry on to Director Evans.
Thank you. Just quick question. In the report, it speaks to potential implications for SRD, and certainly one of them could be the ongoing maintenance. Will that be included in the report? Are those the types of things that directors are going to hear back on from the report that's being prepared? And then just a quick question with regards to timing. Is it anticipated that that would happen soon, or will that take a while to gather that information?
Lucille.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the answer to the first question is yes. There's a lot of implications of financial budgeting, insurance liability that we'll be looking at, and I do anticipate that it'll come back fairly quickly.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, on receipt. Call question. Anyone opposed?
No, I'm still on, Mr. Chair.
Okay, so this is the problem we have. Hands go up, hands come down. Director Lee's hand is still up, now it's down.
No, it's down.
Okay, it is now.
I put mine down and now I put it back up.
Okay, for the last discussion on the matter. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate Director Evans' comments. That was exactly why I wanted to be part of the discussion, because all of those financial matters, et cetera, come back to me at budgeting time as to whether or not they get the budget. So I'm the one that has to vote on and approve what's being asked for, and it's good if I could see firsthand what is actually being proposed, and is it overkill or not. So that's the only reason I want to be here.
Well,
And,
that information will go to you
thank you
guys
for
at
that.
EASC. Okay, okay, I'm gonna call question on receipt. Is anyone opposed? Seen none, carried. And Director Anderson.
Yeah, I would like to move a slightly amended version to alternative B that reads: the board conditionally approve in principle the bike park project on the Quadra Island Recreation Society as submitted, withholding endorsement till such time as a report identifying implications for the regional district can be considered by EASC and the board.
I have a mover, do I have a seconder?
Second, Moglove.
Moglove seconded.
And just speaking very briefly to it,
Go ahead.
as I always think it's a good idea to involve the directors from the area in the development of things. We know a lot about our respective communities, and we can offer, not as a decision maker, not as a first vetter. It has been a major change in the last number of years of a process that leaves me, and I know my other colleagues, very cut out of what used to feel like a team. But I know that inserting the specific language of directors just doesn't work. But in removing it, I don't in any way remove my desire to see us continue to be actually engaged in a meaningful team way. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And CEO?
So, Mr. Chair, we seem to go around in circles in this topic often, and as Director Anderson says, there's been a major change. Staff are following the goals, principles, and procedures of the board. If the board at any time wants to change those policies, procedures about openness, transparency, delegation authority, we are happy to do so. So this administration is simply following the direction of the board.
Cool. Director Cornfield.
Yeah, just comment on this one. It comes back to the whole board. And I look at, I think we approved, everything went through on Blinken Park, the disc golf. It's with the same society. So I don't know why there was a disconnect on discussions. The previous one worked with staff, put the grant in, did all of the work. Everything goes through slick as a whistle. And yet the same society in the next one doesn't follow the proper process and procedure, and we're spending all kinds of time picking up after it.
Okay. Thank you, Director Cornfield. No question on the motion. Is anyone opposed? Seeing none, hearing none, carried. Item 4, feasibility study, Surgeon Narrows Fire Brigade. Motion to receive report.
Moved, Abram.
Abram moves, seconder. Second by Wally. Anything to add, CEO?
Nothing to add, Mr. Chair?
On receipt, I'll call question. Anyone opposed? Carried. Item B, Temply and Associates be engaged to undertake a study to determine the costs and operational requirements for the Surgeon Narrows Outer Island Fire Brigade Initiative, and that up to
So
8.
moved,
Moved by Abram, second. Wally. Any discussion? Say none, questions? Anyone opposed? Say none, carried. Item 5, proposed bulk water supply service to Tualatin First Nation. Motion to receive the report.
Move receipt.
Second, Colburn.
Lee and Colburn, and the CEO.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. At the previous meeting, there was a number of questions raised. We have approached the City of Campbell River staff, and they've graciously provided the answers to the questions that were provided. One last item, though, that I got just yesterday from city staff in case it came up. The city has a bylaw that they charge 2 times the rate for users outside the city boundary, and they wanted to confirm that this agreement will reflect that bylaw. Thank you.
Thank you. On receipt, call questions. Anyone opposed?
And I just want to know procedurally, does the motion that was deferred from last time automatically just come back up, or do I have to make that motion again?
Go to Mr. Yates.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm just going to pull up the report from last time. So the report indicates that there is a motion currently on the floor that was made by Director Moglove. And that would be, if the board wishes to move forward on this item, it would be appropriate that that motion be considered before other motions.
Okay, thank you.
Not before the receipt. We're on receipt of this report, and then that motion from last time automatically comes to the table for vote.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted procedurally how this works. Thanks.
So
Okay,
could you say that one again?
I think, Mr. Chair, what Mr. Yates said is after we vote on receipt, the previous motion that you see on the board will be up for discussion and approval.
Okay, so I'll leave.
okay. Okay, on receipt. Director Lee, on receipt.
Yes, I have a question. There was one issue that wasn't answered in the report that I could find, and that is a concern that over the years, we've been requested by the City of Campbell River not to allow further hookups at the end of the water line because of pressure reductions. And I'm wondering if the Cloeses development drops the water pressure to Area D customers, will they be responsible for fixing this problem?
Okay.
Because Campbell River has always said, like, don't put more houses on the end of the line because there's very low water pressure in the summer.
Okay, we'll go to the CEO.
So a couple things that might help answer that question is one, that they're using no infrastructure of Area D to supply water to the Cloeses, and the second is in our services agreement, that there are minimum standards that the city needs to meet to deliver that water. And should any of those standards, including water pressure, come up, the city would be responsible for rectifying that.
Okay, thank you.
Cool.
Thanks.
Okay, on receipt, I'll call questions. Anyone opposed? Seeing none carried, and then the motion that's on the floor. Director Moglove?
No, I think everything's been answered, so I do not have anything to add.
Okay, so the motion on the floor right now is that the board consent to the City of Campbell River providing bulk domestic water to the Tulises First Nation Reserve in electoral area D. That was moved by Moglove, second by Davis. I'll call question on the motion. Oh. Go ahead, Director Cornfield.
Yeah, this issue was important to all of us, I think. And it was brought up at Monday's council meeting, and I clarified with staff that the rate is identical, the amount, and was supposed to be communicated to the SRD, so.
Okay, thank you. Don't see any further hands, so I'll call question on the motion. Anyone opposed? Seeing none carried. Item 6, local government and school district election agreements. Motion to see the report.
Move receipt. Colburn.
Coburn, second. Davis, and I'll go to Mr. Yates.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Nothing really to add. This is really to prepare the regional district in the event that the board wishes us to enter into agreements with school districts and other local governments. Then this is the mechanism to advise staff to proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Yates. On receipt, I'll call questions. Anyone opposed? Seeing none carried. And on a B, the election agreements with local governments and school districts within the boundaries of the SRD be prepared for further consideration by the board.
So moved.
Coburn, seconder. Davis,
Second?
any discussion? Call questions. Anyone opposed? Carried. Item 7, Campbell River Shoreline Arts Society. Motion to receive the report.
Move receipt?
Lee, second.
Second. Colburn.
Coburn, and I'll go CAO.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think the only thing to add to here is that we had some correspondence from the Campbell River Mayor the other day that was added to the agenda that Campbell River have already provided some financial assistance to this group, and I think that's valuable when the board's considering their request here.
Any discussion? So yeah, when I.
Yeah.
Who said yes? Director
Sorry,
Lee?
it's Director Anderson. I'm trying to find my hand here.
Okay, they're on the end of your arms.
There we go.
Go ahead, Director.
Is it my turn?
Go ahead, Director Anderson.
Thanks. It seems to me that one option missing that we might consider in the alternatives here is indeed not denying or giving, but rather referring out to the electoral area grant and aid process, which I think normally where this one lands. I don't think I would support a regional grant and aid on this one. Thanks.
Thank you. Director Lee.
Do we know how much they will be short after the Campbell River grant is deducted from what they're requesting?
I'm looking at CEO.
I don't. Again, we're just, the only information we got was the request from this group for the $7,000. I don't know what their ultimate needs are.
Mr. Yates.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm just going to pull up the supplementary report, which is the next item under this particular matter. And I believe that Director Adams has provided information regarding what the City of Campbell River has provided in the past. That should be on the screen right now.
So council has approved funding for the 2022 in the amount of $10,000 to the Shoreline Arts Society. CO?
Yeah, that looks correct, and again, they've requested the $7,500 from us. I have no idea what their ultimate goal is.
Okay. Director Evans?
Thank you. And I think the challenge with this one is typically there would be a budget for the event that would show where all their funding sources are coming from and what their ultimate expense is. We do have financial information from their year-end financial statements. But this to me just doesn't give us the information we would need to be able to determine what the funding, what the ultimate funding need is. Knowing that they may have included a budget when they asked the city for that funding, but the event itself should have a budget, again, that would identify where their revenue sources are coming from. And not having that information makes it very difficult to determine the heightened need of what the request is for.
Okay, thank you. So we're still on receipt. You got Director Lee?
Oh, well, I just was going to move to defer it until we get further information from the Shoreline Arts Society about what their needs actually are now that they've got a $10,000 commitment from
Second.
the city of Campbell River.
Okay,
Second.
so motion to defer from Director Lee. Second by Director Moglove. Any further discussion? Director Cornfield?
Well, I guess because it's deferral, are you requesting additional information, and would that be their
Budget.
but plus their, what other donations they're receiving in order to do it? So full comprehensive report?
That would be my assumption.
Yes.
Okay. So Edie's okay with the motion? Deferral? Edie's got it? Okay, I'll call question on deferral. Anyone opposed? See none carried. Give me a sec here. So, Mr. Yates, did we miss something in number 6?
Mr. Chairman, there was a supplementary report as well, but deferral is fine. It can all come back next meeting or whenever there's information to be provided.
Okay, no, back on number 6.
I'm sorry.
You pointed out something on, did we miss something on school district?
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
Okay.
It was number 7.
Okay, we're good. All good. Everything's carried, everything's done. On to number 8.
Move receipt. Favored School Parent Advisory Council Financial Assistance Request.
Go.
Second, Director Lee.
Ollie and Lee. I'll go to CAO.
Nothing to add, Mr. Chair.
On receipt, I'll call questions. Anyone opposed? See none carried. Item B is the board approve a grant for the Sayward School PAC, the amount of $500 to assist in additional field trips.
So moved, Wally.
Wally, seconder.
Second, Lee.
Lee. And Director Lee, you have your hand up?
No, sorry, I tried to take it down. I don't know what's going on with it.
Okay.
There.
Thank you. Call question on the motion. Is anyone opposed? See none carried. Item 9, request for financial assistance, Campbell River Killer Whale Swim Club. Motion to receive the report.
Move receipt. Lee.
Second.
Second.
Wally, the CEO.
Nothing to add, Mr. Chair.
Okay, on receipt, call question. Anyone opposed? See none carried. Item B.
Move the
board-
move the recommendation.
Director Lee,
Second.
Second, Evans.
Evan second. Any discussion? See none, I'll call questions. Anyone opposed? See none carried. Bylaws, bylaw 432, 433, OCP rezoning for Quadra Links. Motion to receive the report.
Motion to receive, Abram.
Go, seconder, Wally, and the CEO.
I'd like to speak to-
I'll go CEO first.
Yeah, nothing to add, Mr. Chair. I believe the Area C Director has some supplemental
Okay.
information.
Okay, on receipt, Director Abram.
Okay, so first of all, I'm prepared to cancel the May 18th hearing, which we set last board meeting, and move it. It was not an arbitrary decision, which some seem to think it was, to hold it in May. It had to do with COVID mainly. And the announcement that day when I made the motion by the PHO top officials right across the country is that COVID is expected to ramp up again in the fall. So that fall is times like November. We have a number of other considerations due to things like elections, all of the work for staff surrounding elections, the inaugural board meeting, the long Christmas break. To hold a hearing at the end of November would not even get looked at until January by staff or directors or the board, just so people understand that. But I'm willing to go along with the request from the applicant, which is highly unusual. We normally
Okay, Director
get a
Abram, yeah,
report.
I know you wanted, we're on receipt, so do you want to wait till your motion before you? Or you?
This is the preamble.
Okay, well, just.
Preamble.
Yeah, but when you go on to your motion, then I don't want to hear it all again.
You won't.
I don't either.
Okay, so basically, I'm just saying that this is a complete departure from our normal way
Okay.
of setting public hearings.
Gotcha.
And, this is unusual, but I'm willing to make a motion to change the public hearing, and I've got it written out and presented to you, Dave, Edie. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, question on receipt, sorry.
Let's go. Okay, anything else on receipt? Seeing none, I'll call question. Anyone opposed? Seeing none carried. Director Abram, you have a motion.
Okay, so the motion is that I would move that the in-person public hearing for bylaws 432 and 433, I believe those are the correct numbers, be held at 7 p.m. on Wednesday, November 23rd, 2022, to allow as much time as possible for the applicant to prepare for the hearing as he asked. The Quadra Island Community Center is available and it's being held. And further, that the director for Area C be appointed as chair and the director for Area D be appointed as vice chair.
Do I have a seconder?
Second.
Second, Director Adams, thank you. Any discussion? Director Adams.
Thank you. I just want to say words of appreciation for the reconsideration of this. This has been a long process, but I don't think there's any reason to go against what is good for the SRD and good for the area, but also good for the proponent. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Adams. And Director Abram, you have your hand
You're
up?
welcome. Not really. Thank you.
Okay, Director Cornfield.
Just one minor thing. In the motion, it says, as he asked. And I would like that amended to remove the as he's asked and put in instead as requested by the applicant.
You okay with that, Director Abram?
Sure,
It's just requested.
it
rather
says the
than
same thing.
Yep.
It's if I could, Quadralinks is the applicant.
Yep.
Quadralinks Ltd.
Okay. That's fine, I'll take that as a friendly. Okay, I'll call Director Adams.
Nope, all good. Sorry.
Okay, thank you. I'll call question on the motion. Anyone opposed? Carried. Thank you, everyone. Bylaw 2, Bylaw 459, Cam River Storm License Agreement. Motion to receive the report.
Receipt.
Adams,
Second,
Lee,
secondly,
and CO.
Nothing to add, Mr. Chair.
Cool. On receipt, call question. Anyone opposed? Seeing none carried. Item B, bylaw 459, being the Cam River Storm Licensing Agreement, be authorized. Bylaw 2022 be now reconsidered, finally passed and adopted.
Move.
Adams
Evans?
and Evans.
I'm sorry, we've lost the agenda.
Tom's on it.
We've got smiling faces.
Mhm.
I'll call question on the motion. Is anyone opposed? Seeing none, carried. Number 3, bylaw 461, electoral area C, wharf service. Motion received, report.
For receipt, Abram.
Abram, second.
Second.
Wally. I'll go to CAO.
Nothing to add, Mr. Chair.
Discussion on receipt. Call questions. Anyone opposed? Seeing none, carried. Item B, bylaw 461, being a bylaw to establish sports service within electoral area C.
Move item B. Abram.
Second,
Lee.
Lee.
Any discussion? Call questions. Anyone opposed? Carried. Item C, rules be suspended.
Move
Moves.
item C. Abram.
Second.
Second.
Lee. Any discussion? Call questions. Anyone opposed? Carried. Item D.
Move.
Item D. Move item D. Abram.
And Lee, thank you.
Second,
Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call questions. Anyone opposed? Carried. Bylaw 466477, Oyster Bay Lands. Motion received, the
Move
report.
move receipt.
Director Lee, seconder.
Second, Colburn.
Director Coburn. I'll go to CAO.
Nothing to add, Mr. Chair.
On receipt. Call questions. Anyone opposed? Seeing none, carried.
Move
Item
first reading.
Q, seconder.
Second, Anderson.
Anderson, thank you. Any discussion? Call questions. Anyone opposed? Carried. Item
Move second reading.
second. Seconder,
Second, Anderson.
Anderson. No discussion? Anyone opposed? Carried. Item D, be bylaw
Move
amendment.
first.
Seconder,
Second,
Wally, thank you. Any discussion? See none, carried. Item E, bylaw 447, be given second reading.
Move second.
Lee,
second,
seconder.
Anderson.
Anderson. Any discussion? Call questions. Anyone opposed? Carried.
And
public-
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead.
I would like to move that a public hearing be held on June 15th at 7 PM at a venue to still be determined by staff, and that directors Abram Chair and Wally Vice Chair be named.
Do I have a seconder?
Second.
Wally, thank you.
And if I could just speak to my motion.
Go ahead.
I have been in discussions with staff regarding the venue that they originally looked at. I believe it's too small to fit the number of people we could have, judging by how many people turned out at the Quadra Island hearing and also past experience. We need a venue that's well ventilated, and we need a larger venue. So staff are liaising with School District 72 to see if we can get the Ocean Grove Gymnasium, which is much bigger, and we can social distance and a lot safer for everyone that attends the hearing. So I would like to defer the date until the May 8th
No.
board, so that to give staff time to confirm if they can get Ocean Grove School or not.
You've already got a motion on the floor for June 15th date. All you asked
Yeah,
for
but
is to name a
is it-
place.
yeah, the place may be, is still undetermined.
Okay, so let's wait and see what staff can do with dates, and then if they can't come up with some other alternative
Yeah.
place, then we can talk about dates and times.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. And Director Abram.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that my chairing the meeting is conditional on a larger venue with considerable distance like we had at the Quadra Hall. We were actually up on a stage, which made it far better for COVID. And we were able to completely social distance from the audience
Okay.
and staff and everybody else. So if we can't get that, then I'm going to have to withdraw as being the chair.
Okay, so let's see what happens when then we can decide that then.
Okay, that's fine, thank
So,
you.
CO?
Mr. Chair, so as we don't know the venue, if Director Abram can't be there, the hearing can still go ahead, though.
Okay, thank you. And Director Wally?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, that was my point. The chair could always do it electronically. It's not to be there in person.
Go. Okay,
One point,
Um,
Mr. Chair, if I could,
Go
Mr.
ahead.
Chair. The electronically part, I think is, it's kind of a work in progress, and I know that our IT department did their damnedest to make it work for Quadra Island, but it really didn't work. And staff were put through a lot of stress and extra work to try and get, basically you had 3 venues happening. You had in-person, you had virtual, and you had on a phone line. So, if we're going to do virtual, that is going to have to be set up well beforehand so that we know it works. And then I would be more than happy to do it at whatever venue you pick.
okay, CO?
Just for clarity, Mr. Chair, with or without Director Abram in person or virtual, if he if he chooses not to attend because of the spacing or he can't attend virtual, the hearing can still go ahead.
Okay. And Director Wally?
Who would do the hearing?
Thank you, Mr.
The
Chair. I
vice
was just
chair.
going to point out that the last public hearing that I chaired was done totally electronically. Anico did an excellent job of running the meeting, and it worked really well.
Okay. Director Lee, you have your hand up again?
Yes, please. I would much rather that we are able to attend in person and not rely so much on the electronic. Electronic didn't work that well at the Quadra hearing we were just at. I couldn't hear the input very well, and there was very few people. I think there were 3 that phoned in, and the rest of them were all there in person. At the Oyster Bay public hearing, there's likely to be a lot of people that want to have input, and we do not have good internet connections in Oyster River and Oyster Bay. So there's going to be a lot of people who are excluded from the hearing because they don't have proper internet connection speeds to be able to participate. So I would much rather we work something out that is an in-person public hearing for everybody.
And that's exactly what staff is trying to do. Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So, on the motion, I'm going to call question. Is anyone opposed? Seeing none, carried. Item 0, correspondence. Motion receive, report.
Move receipt.
Seconder.
Second.
Second by Wally. And I'll go staff.
Nothing to add, Mr. Chair?
Any discussion? Director Adams, sorry, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Just wondering if staff have ever considered or would consider how public hearings could be recorded. I think it's really important for members of the public that aren't able to make it to the public hearing for a variety of reasons have the opportunity to hear the conversations, as is the same for Strathcona Regional District staff and board members that are then subject to being involved in passing motions. Thank you.
I'll go CEO.
Mr. Chair, just so all our public hearings are recorded, the audio of it, and we're going to be moving forward as soon as we can, hopefully at the next public hearing, to do video as well. So audio recordings are available on our YouTube channel, and video will accompany that, hopefully by the time our next public hearing happens.
Thank you, Director Adams. And Director Abram.
Yeah, I think our CAO just made my comment. It was recorded.
Okay, thank you. Anything further? Question on receipt. Anyone opposed? Seeing none, carried. No members, no management. New business, Director Moglove.
Thank you. And this is just to give notice of motion for next time, that I'll be requesting that the start times for the Municipal Services Committee and the First Nations Committee be reversed. You don't need a seconder.
Notice of motion has
Second.
been, notice of
You
motion
don't
has-
need, a second, right?
yeah, notice of motion has been received. Thank you. No addendum items? No closed?
Oh, that
Terminate.
that was,
Move termination, Director Adams.
excuse me,
Second by
excuse me,
Cornfield Colburn.
Mr. Chair.
Director Abram.
Mr. Chair, just on Director Moglov's notice of motion next time, could we please have those 2 times? I don't know what time municipal services is, but I am on First Nations. It's 9:30. So, you know, if that could just be in the
Absolutely.
information that we
Yep.
receive
Absolutely.
next meeting,
Yep.
and then we're fine.
It's 9:30 and 10:30. So yes, I'll have that.
Yeah, one's at 9:30, one's at 10:30.
Okay, well, that's fine.
Go. Any other discussion? Call question on termination. Anyone opposed? See none carried. Man, that's almost,
See you next time.
that's gotta be a record.
Record, the Fast and Furious.